So, looking at the NBA standings as of today, January 8th, 2023, we got the Celtics in first place at 28-12, the Brooklyn Nets in second place at 26-13, the Milwaukee Bucks at 25-14, the Cavaliers in fourth place at 25-15, Philly in fifth place at 23-15, the Knicks in sixth place 22-18, the Pacers at 22-18. The Heat in 8th place at 21-19. The Bulls 19-21, 9th place. The Hawks 18-21, 10th place. And the Wizards round out 11th place at 17-23. That's the Eastern Conference. And in the West real quick, we got the Nuggets in first place at 26-13. The Grizzlies at 25-13. The New Orleans Pelicans 24-16. The Dallas Mavericks 23-17. In fourth place, we got the Kings at 20-18. The Clippers at 21-20 at sixth place. Phoenix in 20-20 at seventh place. The Trailblazers at 19-19 in eighth place. The Warriors in ninth with 20-20. The Jazz in 10th with 20-22. And the Minnesota Timberwolves round out the top 11 at 19-21. I know we did the standings before, but it's been a couple episodes. But I know since then the Brooklyn Nets have climbed up to a game and a half back of the Boston Celtics for first place. They're 9-1 in their last 10. And once again, I'm not calling them a contender or a pretender or anything, but it has to be said because I don't think enough people are saying it. The Brooklyn Nets have a real chance, if nothing else, to finish with the best record in the East.
And finishing with the best record in the East would put them actually at the top of the league because second best record in the East and tied for the second best record in the NBA because Denver is on top of the West with 26-13. So they have a chance because they're right there. They were they were on that amazing streak that they lost 12 straight and they lost to the Bulls, and that game they were a half game out for the Celtics with that game, and then they lost. So they got a good chance. They got a big game this week for them, which I think they're going to take serious. I think the Celtics are going to take it seriously. Everyone already had their game of the years already locked up, and there's still games to be played, which
right.
I find that funny too. I've already seen, this is the game of the year, and that has like really big implications. They swept the Celtics last year. The Celtics swept the Nets last year.
Playoffs, right?
This game very well, depending on what happens as they meet up. Because I don't got the schedule right in front of me, but I'm sure they got a few games. But it could be for who holds first place in the East once we get there, and who has the best record in the NBA. So I can see the Celtics wanting to send a message to them that they're, because they've been running things since the season started. They've been the overall most consistent team,
right,
probably in the NBA. They had their little slip-ups a couple of weeks ago, but they've been really hot to start the year, been really solid to start the year. And then the Nets, they just clicked and got it going, so I'm sure they want to send a message to them. And then the Nets, they've had their doubters. Obviously, is it real? Can you take them seriously? I saw Michael Wilbon say he's waiting on them to implode, basically, is what he said about them. So I know that they want to go into that game and think, they want to show people that it's real and that their team can compete and that they take they have elite level talent on their team, and it just would be a big win for them. So that game is Thursday on TNT this week coming up. So that game seems like it could have a game of the year, type game where
right,
all over it.
Nah, for sure. And even on a more player to player, this also goes into, because I know a lot of people finna start getting it ramped up. Also, MVP narrative type game for players like KD and Jason Tatum. Not even necessarily all-star application, but maybe even all NBA type game, narrative games for Kyrie and Jaylen Brown.
Even Jason Tatum.
Jason.
KD, because Tatum got first team.
I said MVP, but not But not yet for that point too. Like this might determine which one of them get one of those first team All NBA forward spots. Even the players like Nick Claxton and Marcus Smart, Grant Williams, as far as defensive implication go, Nick Claxton as far as most improved player of the year goes. Like this is a big game overall. Like you say, you can't just say it's a game of the year. It's definitely a game of the year candidate.
Yeah, game. The game got to be played.
No,
I'm just saying. I've seen some people already say some games were game of the year, games in December and. I think either November, but mainly December, and still a lot of basketball to be played. Right. So there's got a chance to be a big game because whoever wins that game will come out on top of the East. Sure. So should be a big game.
Definitely. And with that being said, I'm John W.
It's fresh shit.
And this is the Hoopers Pod. And just real quick, like I said, Michael Wilbon was saying that he was waiting on the Nets to implode. And I thought the conversation that was funny because. He said it on NBA Countdown before the game the other day, and it was like they've only had 1 year where that really was a problem. Like he had the year 2 years ago where Kyrie and James Harden was basically hurt in the playoffs. Kyrie missed the rest of the series against Milwaukee in the second round.
Right.
The year before that, we kind of figured Brooklyn was gonna come into the season not as good because KD was gonna basically miss that whole year. That was his Achilles coming off the Achilles surgery, like. I just think that was a funny thing to bring up when it happened once. Okay, it happened. Everything wasn't right at the beginning of the season, but the Nets haven't just imploded on themselves for off the court reasons. Like all their things.
I just think their situations have been so huge and even so national past basketball because the Kyrie, both of his situations was bigger than basketball.
Right.
That makes it seem like it's way more occurrences than they are, but they are kind of all bunched up into the same thing because he also mentioned like the birthday situation. Either way, you have to take them for what you're seeing now. You have to take them for what they're doing, and it's not gonna there's gonna be people out there that aren't gonna give them credit until they see they get it done because. The whole they should be doing this thing, which I agree with. They should be on top of the East. They pay Kyrie and KD. Not even that they paid them to do that. I'm gonna take that statement back. I think KD's the best player in the association. I think Kyrie's a top 15 player. And when you have those players on your team, you want them there because you want to compete for a championship. So the talent level is there for them to compete for a championship. And so I understand that I want to see it done, but it is not looking at the full story because, like you say, when it first started, it hasn't been, they've been this way because it's been just 4 years of issues. It started off with the injury of KD coming back from his Achilles, and it happened to manifest that on the court. But when they were on the court, look at their record, what it was when all three of them played with James Harden. Did they lose a game? I think they lost maybe 2 or 3 games when all three of them played on there, and they got into a little debate on there on the Countdown show about what was going to happen in that series, and it's all what ifs. You can only speculate what has happened in the past is the past, but they were in a good position, which is all you can say. When those 3 players were on the court, they were in a good position to beat the Bucks. So that just is what it is. They were in a good position to beat them. They had the edge on the series. Kyrie got hurt. James got hurt. KD foot was too big and it was on the line. And the Bucks went on and won a championship. It's all good. It is what it is. But you have to take them for what you're saying and look at what you're doing. And if it's about basketball and you're dismissing what you're saying on the basketball court, then you're just being naive because they have one of the, wherever you have KD slotted, if it's any lower than 4th in the league, then you just may have an issue against him. But he's one of the top 2 to 3 players in the NBA. Kyrie, when he's locked in, when he's healthy, because that's the main thing. My grudge against Kyrie, or the thing I've always said about him is I want to see him healthy. Kyrie always missed too many games for me. He always had these little nagging injuries, and that hasn't been the case this year. He's been on the court, and able to hoop, and when he's out there, he doesn't have too many off nights, and then I don't think he gets enough credit for how locked in he is even defensively, where he's putting out real effort to do stuff defensively. They have solid role players that know their role and that can contribute. We was talking about the game the other day. KD had the worst game we've seen him have shooting the ball. This man shoots 56, 58% from the field. He's like 9 for 26, 25, something like that. But this year to have somebody like TJ Warren, who is a scorer, be able to step in and give you 15 they haven't had that player on the team. So they have more depth than you would think, especially because there was players coming back from injuries. But you have to take them seriously, and they're a formidable team. I think we all agree that we would like to see them have a bigger player, another, a little bit more size.
Sure.
But sometimes your team is what it is, and you don't want that type of player on your team because he's not going to get the minutes anyway, and you're ready to defend how it is because they're also defending at a high level, top 10 in defense, I think 8 right now. So you got to give them their credit. And you lying to me if we get in a playoff series. Last year happened what it is, but if you're really holding just last year and saying you don't think that KD and Kyrie are going to be threatening the playoff series, you're lying to yourself.
No, sure. And just speaking of the game the other night, like I said, they beat the top 4 team in the West. And like I said, on this streak, they've been beaten. Regardless of how you feel about on a team-by-team basis, they've beaten mostly playoff teams. They've beaten Portland, beaten Indiana, beaten, New Orleans the other day, beat Milwaukee, beat Cleveland. I think Toronto was in the playoffs when they played them but they've beaten good teams.
And Toronto was y'all sleeper finals team.
They absolutely were. So they've beaten a variety of teams that have been either playoff teams or close to playoff teams all throughout the year. Whether it be close games or they have games where they show their overall dominance. When you look at Brooklyn, even from an objective standpoint, I'm not saying you're not objective about them, you be biased about them, but even from an objective standpoint, you see a lot of their wins are coming close, whether they have to come from behind or they lose a lead or whatever. Do you consider that factor as something that could hurt them in the playoffs, even with players like KD and Kyrie, who can close out games, especially games like that when every team doesn't have one? Most teams don't have one, then they have 2.
Right. No, close wins don't scare me because I've also seen them have some quality wins, some wire-to-wire wins, and they've had some close wins, which you need because it's all right, sometimes you're not shooting the ball well. You can have a close win, and it's not just a matter, as long as it's not a matter of effort, I think it's fine. Sometimes you don't shoot the ball well. Sometimes your communication is off a little bit. You just have those games where it just doesn't fall, but you still are able to claw out a victory. I feel like that builds character opposed to, all right, we just was playing like trash, our energy was low, we didn't take this team seriously, and you trying to dig your way out of those type of games. Those are different type of losses to me. No more victories, but they're different type of losses to me. So I don't mind them having to go through the tough games, and I also think that's a proven factor for some of the role players because that's the biggest question mark for me. I know I said they got shooters, but I also mentioned how these players are coming off injury, so it's good they're catching their rhythm, but you want them to be able to stay in that rhythm and still really be able to prove themselves. I still shout out to Nick Claxton in the year that he's having. I saw somebody say he's been a top 5 center in the league this year. I don't agree with that, but I think he's been a top 10 center in the NBA, in the association this year. But like the games with Ben, he's getting better. He's been getting better. He's been getting more aggressive. But the games when I've watched them, when Ben is ultra aggressive, pushing the ball, not even necessarily looking for his shot more, but since he's been so aggressive, is there. It really make them look like another team. And I feel like that's what takes them to the next level because you're still searching for that consistent third player.
Right.
Because it could be Nick Claxton, T.J. Warren, Seth, Ben Simmons any night. But Ben is the best amongst all of them, in my opinion. So when he's really going, really into the game, it's not all about the points, but I do think he should give them a little bit more scoring. Like in Philly, he was always around 14 to 16 points per game. You're playing with KD and Kyrie, who are both going to average 27 plus. So I can understand, and Seth can give you, he's averaged 19, 18 in this league. TJ Warren, you're playing with a lot of people that want to shoot the ball. So naturally, I don't really expect him to average 15, but I think he could do better than 6 to 8 points per game.
No, I feel you.
You know what I mean? So it just put them on another level, and even though you do want them to eat, when he's going, he's so much talented. It's like, all right, we kind of need to feed into you some too, because when you've been aggressive, that's when you find your passes, and I mean, he naturally just scores a little more. I also think his points score more if he becomes a better free throw shooter. He doesn't really get to the line a lot, and when he gets there, he doesn't really make free throws either. So I think if anything, get the free throws together, but I don't mind to the original question, I don't mind the close games. because character wins, I think, matter. But consistent third player that you get lean on when KD's having a bad night, when Kyrie's having a tough night, because if you could just hold it off for a quarter, either one of them can go off at any moment. And Kyrie missed the fourth quarter right now, so you know who the ball going to in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I don't mind.
Oh, no, for sure. Like I say, it's not many teams that have one player you can go to in that situation. And the Brooklyn Nets have two players who are probably going to be in the top 5 for clutch player of the year, and KD and Kyrie. You're right, they're battling each other for it. Just speaking of Ben Simmons, watching that New Orleans game, because I know it gets said a lot. You know, he's been all defense before. He's finished top 3 in defensive player of the year.
Yep.
But sometimes just watching it, I think a lot of people just take that into his size for the position he's guarding, where he's mostly guarding, point guards, but he will switch and guard a player like Giannis or bigger players. Ben Simmons is one of those players that if you watch it and how he was guarding C.J. McCollum and how he just guards most players, the thing I see about Ben Simmons as a defender is he plays the dribbling lane so well to the point he makes it hard to dribble, which means he makes it hard for you to throw those soft chest passes when you're just trying to advance the ball to the next person.
Right.
And I think that's one of those things where I would like to see Ben Simmons get more steals, because I think that would help with his scoring as well, to your point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like just doing little stuff like that. Like if he can get more fast break layups and dunk opportunities, I think that definitely help a lot. And I think that'll offset some of those nights where he isn't making free throws or getting to the free throw line as much.
Right. Those are easy buckets.
Because he's so fast. Like if you give him like 4 steps of space, he's getting a dunk every time. Like, there's not going to be any take fouls unless you grab his arm as soon as you pop the ball out.
Yeah, easy.
But also other basketball news, I don't think we talked about your All-Star. You voted for All-Stars, right? Already.
Yeah, it's funny. I never cared about voting for All-Stars. I don't vote for anything. I shouldn't say that. But since we've been in the media space and the basketball content creating space, I feel like that's like a cool thing to participate in. Why not? Because I know you don't vote, but there's certain things you'll do too for the space. I know you do it just because let's put our Hooper opinion out there about it. So
sure.
I'm like, why not? I like participating. So yeah, I voted. I voted twice so far, and I'll probably vote again now that the first rounds have come back out. I'll probably vote 1 or 2 more times.
Sure. But before we get into serious talk about it, of course, another year means people are mad that certain players and certain fan bases get more votes than their favorite players on their favorite team. And I always find it funny because, your player is definitely a good player, and he's probably going to get an All-Star nod, but he was never going to be a fan vote.
Exactly.
And shout out to the Sacramento Kings, because this is about because of course all those players like De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis.
Right.
Sabonis, who's been a 2-time All-Star in a small market like Indiana, he's not going to get the fan vote. He's going to get the coach's vote. I think Sacramento has a chance to get 2 players on the coach's vote. Yeah. But I'm not upset that Austin Reeves, who plays for the Los Angeles Lakers and has a cult-like following that extends beyond what is even imaginable for a player of his, I don't want to say of his caliber because I'm not saying he's not a good player.
He's not an all-star caliber player.
Right, but he ends up in top 10 because I don't think it's not just because pure fan voting. You got to think about how these votes get. Not get the term, but what they do with these votes. You have where on Twitter, 1 retweet counts for 2 votes.
Right.
Like you do that,
and a triple vote.
Right. Like they do that for weeks and like weeks out of months. Whereas like, Austin Reeves is popular enough to where enough people is gonna vote for him in those double and triple weeks where he's gonna end up in the top 10.
And it'd be a collection of different, and everyone who gets mad about it, I guarantee you they voted for somebody on their team that don't deserve to be an all-star, but in their mind, they talked up them being an all-star. Like, Austin Reeves will get a vote because you're going to have the super homer people who they're not even doing it for blasphemy. Just, I'm voting all Lakers. So who have been the best Lakers? I'm going to give everybody an all-star vote. Because at the end of the day, we know who's going to win, who's going to be at the top. It'd be a few positions, like the East guards. I was really curious because you do have a couple of players that are genuinely popular.
Right.
And so it's like, but how popular are they? So I wondered how it was going to play out between Kyrie, Donovan Mitchell, and Trey, because all of them are popular in their own right. All have had their own signature shoe. I mean, until Kyrie's just ended with Nike. He's the only one without a signature shoe right now. Donovan Mitchell and Trae Young both have a signature shoe. Both have campaigns behind their shoes. Both have a certain following online. So it's like they're all really popular. So I wonder, those are the people I feel like where the votes matter. But other positions, like if you're a guard in the West, you think you're getting in over Steph Curry? Like, you think Austin Reeves is getting in over Steph over Ja? Like,
right,
come on, get out of here. So, it's always interesting that people get so upset. I look at the fan bundle to see that in particular and just see certain players
who is risen in.
I was surprised that Andrew Wiggins still was so high. I'm like, dang, the Warriors fans really still voting for him because I think he was almost a starter. He was like outside, just looking outside.
Like the other night was his first game back.
Right, so, you know what I mean? People always trip about it. The All-Star starters, I mean, everyone loves Kobe. Kobe got an All-Star star, RP Kobe first of all, but he got an All-Star starter in his second year. He was coming off the bench. He deserved to be a starter, no disrespect. But nobody, that was a coming out party for him in that game, how he hooped in the game. But Kobe wasn't an All-Star that year. He got in because the fans loved him. So this isn't something new at all. Remember Vince Carter gave up his starting spot for Jordan. Vince Carter missed a whole year. Michael Jordan's retiring. And people voted Vince Carter as a starter for the Atlanta All-Star game over Michael Jordan. I remember Vince Carter gave him his starting spot because it was a big deal. Slick that week, remember?
Because Slick was trying to bully Vince Carter out of the spot.
And Vince, who, he looked up to Jordan obviously, or, he was one of his favorite players. I don't want to put looked up on him, but I know that was a player that he admired going to North Carolina and things like that, and it being Michael Jordan. But a star in his own right, and people trying to bully him to take the spot. So just kind of in defense, he was like, I'm going to start anyway. I think he always was going to give up that spot. But people went at him so tough about it, he was like, I'm going to start. Like, right. KD, you want my spot, play me for it.
No, facts. But, that's right. Like, people...
But people go crazy over these spots, and it's like let people vote how they going to
No, yeah. But to the serious part, like you were saying about the guard spot, how would that play out? Because you have three guards who are of high caliber on the court and as far as popularity-wise.
Too, right.
But then if you look at the front court in the East, you also had the same problem because you have four players up there who is like, they have great fan bases, wide fan bases, and then in the East, four in the front court spot. You had Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum.
Front court. I'm still thinking about backcourt.
No, it's only three backcourt players.
Yeah, that one. I don't know who else in
the front court with Joel Embiid, Giannis, Jason Tatum, and KD. And of course, the three starters were KD, Giannis, and Embiid. And I felt like some people were taken aback by that a little bit because it's like, Jason Tatum is on the number one seed. They've been the number one seed. He's been playing like a all NBA MVP type player, so you just expected him to be there. Right. But at the end of the day, I forgot who I was talking. I forgot who I was talking about in this. I forgot who I was talking about it with. Bryce from Headband and the Hoodie podcast. Shout out to them. Jason Tatum fan base isn't necessarily that big, even inside of Boston, where he might get all of Boston, he's gonna get some of St. Louis because him and Bradley Beal is gonna split those votes.
Man, Dude's a bigger star than Jason Tatum.
That is also fact. But if looking at Giannis, KD, and Embiid, they have different type of fan bases, which I don't think Jason Tatum has necessarily achieved yet, especially to beat them out and when they're all healthy and playing well going into All-Star voting. So that's one of them that is also tricky, but we know Jason Tatum is going to be an All-Star though.
All three players voted ahead of Jason Tatum. Got to sell the shoe.
At that, once again, why it might seem funny if people like,
that's dumb. Your fan base point.
No, yeah, but I know when people hear this, and it's gonna be people who don't understand why you say that, but that goes into the popularity. Everybody doesn't just get a signature shoe. You have to have a fan base for that. You have to be so popular to the point where, I'm going to spend not $150 or $160 every year.
Even $80. Consistently buy $90.
I'm not going to do that every year. I'm going to do it 2 to 3 times a year because this player's shoe get released so much. On top of that, every like the AAU and prep schools that are wearing, high school teams that are wearing, college teams are wearing. Jason Tatum, while he may be a great basketball player and popular in basketball circles, I don't think he's popular in, I guess... he's not
a household name yet, man.
No, he's not pop culture popular.
Yeah, and at least he's borderline pop. People definitely know who Jason Tatum is. But it wouldn't surprise me if people You know, they always say do the grandma and the mom check, ask your mom, do they know who Jason Tatum is? And the diehards that know him, but it's gonna be people who don't know him, and that's okay because he actually said that he got a shoe that's on the way. I didn't even know that Jordan was giving him a shoe, so and he said it should be on the way in like a month or so. So he's on the way to being a signature shoe athlete and winning a championship and an MVP will stamp him like that. Well, it will, you know what I mean?
Put another stamp.
Yeah, put another stamp on him because it's not like he need. It's just a matter of time, honestly. It's not like he needed. It's not like he's lacking. You know, but this is his breakout year. Last year was his first. Did he finish top 10 MVP last year? No, I don't think so. But last year was the first year anybody even considered him an MVP, even though he's been hooping for years. This is the first year you've seen the consistent. He's a top 10 player, and you know some people top 5 player. This is his breakout year, so it's all good. But I know y'all didn't think he was gonna get the vote over KD. KD leads the whole East, so you know, so.
That's right.
Giannis is Giannis. Everybody loves his dad jokes, and Embiid has been a star for a long time. Even just from when he was a big troll on Twitter. Like, did he even tweet anymore?
I don't even know, right?
Yeah. So shout out to Jason Tatum. He'll be a reserve though.
No, surely.
I didn't vote him. Did I vote him a starter the first time?
You didn't vote him a starter.
The first time I voted him a starter. The second time I did.
You didn't vote him a starter.
Yeah. Because the first time I left Embiid off. The second time I put Embiid on there.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh man, the Milwaukee Bucks, third place in the East right now, coming into the year with championship aspirations and thoughts and whatnot. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They had an ugly loss the other night to the
terrible loss
to the Charlotte Hornets. Shout out to LaMelo Ball, who basically had 24-8 this year. I know you was pointing that out. We can talk about this some other time.
Really
we'll talk about that some other time, not today though. But the Milwaukee Bucks, 4-6 in their last 10. They don't look. I'm not gonna say they don't look like a championship contender team because the NBA is a marathon and not a sprint, and the season is long. And you go through these, especially when you're missing key pieces. They've been missing Chris Middleton all year. Brook Lopez, as the days go by, slide down on the defense player of the year chart more and more, and I love that. But what do you think right now is the main issue with Milwaukee? I know when we were watching some of the stuff the other day, we definitely said shout out to Joe Ingles, who definitely can provide some stabilizing as a backup point guard. But they definitely need a backup point guard right now, especially with Chris Middleton, the next ball handler, out. But what do you think is really going on with Milwaukee right now?
First of all, they're definitely still a championship contender as long as they have Giannis in his prime, Coach Bud on the sidelines. Milwaukee's they're gonna be a contender to come out of the East, but I very well won't be surprised to see this team have a second round exit again. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see them go to the finals, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them lose in the second round. Only thing that would shock me is them losing in the first round this year, which I think is almost impossible to happen.
No, sure.
I said looking at their team the other day, which they've been without Chris Middleton for a good amount. He started off the year hurt, and then his father passed, I believe it was. So he took some time because of that, and then he didn't play the last game that I saw them play. So I'm not sure. I'm not a Milwaukee beat writer, so I'm not sure why he's out right now. But he's been out a little bit, and even you get those kind of. Hold on, I'm looking at Basketball Reference. And it says he was out because of his knee, the game against Charlotte. You get Drew, he's kind of in and out at times. You don't really notice because he'll play really well for a little while, but then he'll miss these little games here and there. Like, dang, Drew ain't played in a couple games. It'd be kind of weird. So I looked at their team the other day, and while they have a team that they know their system, they have really quality players, I just feel like compared to the top of the East, and I may get killed for this, I may be completely wrong, but I just feel like compared to the team at the top of the East, Brooklyn, Boston, Philly, even Cleveland.
They have the weakest cast of role players.
Yeah, and it's just like they lack talent at places where they need, like you got Giannis and like they think it's just like Luka versus the world. It feel like it's just like Giannis and all right, cool. You know Bobby. Shout out to Bobby Buckets. Bobby gonna show up. He gonna get you 30 if you need him. Give him 30. He gonna get you 7 and 15 if you need him to do that. He'll hit the big three from the corner. He'll go out and defend somebody, and then when he get a rebound, Bobby gonna do whatever you need you to do. I love Bobby Portis. I'm glad they didn't try to blackball him after he knocked that I'm finna call him knocked that. What's his name? But I ain't gonna say it on here. I ain't gonna be controversial. But I think knocked Miritich out that day. Thought they were gonna try and get him out the league, and he done made his way to a championship player. So I appreciate seeing that. Brook Lopez is like a solid player. He wants. Did he make an All-Star game?
Yeah, he made one.
Yeah, All-Star. Always been a solid player, even with his lack of rebounding. Brook Lopez is genuinely a good player. But they lean a whole lot on him with the injuries he's had the last few years.
Especially defensively as an anchor in that middle.
Yeah, 34 years old. But then we all like Joe Ingles. They just got him back from injury. So he missed a whole lot of time.
Ibaka doesn't necessarily play.
They leaned a lot on Javon Carter earlier this year, and Javon Carter's just not a rotational player to me. There's no disrespect to him. I love when I appreciate when players get opportunities and when they can take advantage of them. And he have nights where he look good. But
the wings right now without Chris Middleton or Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton. I would say Pat McConaughey, but Pat Connaughton and Javon Carter is one of those players that are gonna be out of the rotation once Chris Middleton gets healthy.
Exactly,
and it's not gonna be Pat Connaughton because he's on the championship team.
And even so, that whole is just like, like that's not. It's like, all right, they won a championship, they got it done. But they just need to upgrade the talent of this team. I've seen that they've been in some talks to get Bogdanovich. They were a team that people threw out there for Jordan Clarkson. They just need an extra boost in athletic ability and offense and talent. Sometimes just there's nothing wrong with having role players, but have consistent role players, not just these utility role players who, all right, if he's on today, I can play him. If he's on today, I can play him, but he's not on today. Role players that you know that you're playing every day.
Right.
No matter who's in or out the lineup, their minutes are there. Not based off of if he's playing well during this stretch, he's playing well because this person is out. They just need to upgrade their roster, and, they put a lot into that Drew trade, so... And then knowing that you got Giannis who's going to play 83 out of 82 games because he's showing up and he's going to play as hard as he can when he's out there, you lean on that a little bit, but they need to upgrade their talent. They haven't made a big deal, or, I'm probably sure they're the buyout market is a thing that people look at, but they need to be looking around the league to upgrade their talent in shooting, in athletic ability, in guard talent. I don't mind the bigs because I don't mind Bobby, Brook, and Giannis. I'm actually really solid with that. But having another 3-4 player that can play the 3, they can play the 4 also.
Some combo wing.
Yeah, I think that would be nice.
Maybe like I say, backup point guard, because like I said, backup point guard right now. The backup point guard right now, George Hill and Joe Ingles, basically.
And they don't want to play that, which I don't mind Joe Ingles, but he's coming back.
He shouldn't be playing 7th, 8th man minutes.
And I feel like they don't want to play George Hill no more. Shout out to George Hill, champion, solid player, good guy. I feel like they don't want to play him no more.
And to your point, I feel like this team has become really stagnant to the point where they lean on their top players. So when one of them is out, they're going to win games because you have a player like Giannis and the system is set, and you know what the system is, but it will show in certain parts of the season because it's 82. It is a long season. It's just going to show us sometimes. I know we had our Spaces Friday night, and I was saying, like, this is one of those things, whatever. Y'all gonna feel how y'all feel about it. But because Milwaukee hasn't figured out ways to upgrade the team, or some of those players just haven't taken that next step. I don't think Pat Connaughton has taken that next step since that championship. He still hurt a lot. I know they signed Grayson Allen, but I don't think Grayson Allen was really an upgrade from Devin Chinko, who I know missed the championship run, but he was there for a lot of those years while they was building up to that. I wouldn't be surprised if Milwaukee doesn't. I wouldn't be surprised if they won another championship in the next 10 with this team. That's, with Giannis as a centerpiece, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they never got back to one, because I feel like everybody in the East upgraded except them. Like the Hawks tried to upgrade with DeJounte Murray. Cleveland upgraded with Donovan Mitchell. Philly didn't necessarily do enough. They brought in PJ Tucker. That's a good upgrade for them.
Even since they won, shipping and bringing in James Harden.
Right, bringing in James Harden. Brooklyn Nets bringing in T.J. Warren, one of the Morris twins, Royce O'Neal, who's been playing better as of late. Yuta Watanabe has been a good role player for them in his situational minutes. Sumner has upgraded his talent to be an every other couple game role player. Boston with what they
the only teams that haven't upgraded is Milwaukee and Miami, honestly.
And we see where Milwaukee is at, but they don't have a player like Giannis though. So that's where they're gonna be at.
Right.
To your point, I'm guessing that's what you mean.
They put so much into that Drew trade. It's like, all right, this was our upgrade for the Knicks.
This our upgrade. This was gonna stabilize our team.
Gonna be for that shit. What do you want for us? We did it. We won the championship. We're not doing it again.
Nah, for sure. I just want to say real quick before we get back into basketball talk. This just happened. It was announced on the timeline, so y'all gonna see this before this recording. When the recording come out. But we've officially been named the head of basketball content at the Off the Ball Network. So first and foremost, shout out to Chris LeBron, the president, Mo and Jeff, vice president. Shout out to everybody on the network who rocks with us. Shout out to all our listeners and our fans. Just what we bring to the table. So shout out to them for that. I ain't gonna lie, I've been waiting for him to tell us this because I got some ideas and shit that I want to do. I know Fresh is gonna enjoy this as well. This is what we kind of came into this as. We wanted to, be content creators. We wanted to, all kind of content.
Right. Yeah. So definitely shout out Off the Ball Network. We've been rocking with Off the Ball. Off the Ball 2 years now. 3 years.
3 seasons. Yeah.
I think this should go to 3 years. Once we locked in, ain't no switching up. But on a serious note, though, for real, like you said, we did start. Even before we was doing basketball, it always been just about content stuff, and we did stuff about music, just different documentaries and stuff that we did, period. So content creation has always been the key. And then basketball is just natural because we've always just played basketball. We played, period. We always been hoopers. So they both just went hand in hand, and it just makes sense at a point now where everything is at to create basketball content. So definitely got a lot of cool stuff coming, and especially the best thing about it is we know it's not just going to be about the NBA. The Hoopers Pod throughout this NBA season has turned to a lot of NBA focused stuff because that's just what we talked about. But if you remember when we first started, we did a lot of stuff about NBA, overseas basketball, semi-pro basketball, regular everyday pickup. Because I feel like all of it have a lane for it now. And it's funny because people call themselves professional basketball players and they just, no disrespect on the title, I don't know what else to say, but they just like YouTube hoopers. But they generate money playing basketball on YouTube, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's what's up. So it's a lane for so much different type of basketball, a bunch of different basketball stories out there. That's just to say, you can expect content in the WNBA space, college space. Even in like some betting space, just anything that got to do with basketball. So shout out to the Off the Ball Network. Shout out to us because without us, this couldn't happen.
All right, for sure. For sure.
But, for real though. But definitely a lot of dope stuff to come.
Yeah, definitely. I know. So just know it's gonna be some top tier stuff. We got a lot of people on the staff at Off the Ball who gonna bring a lot of stuff for us, to the table when we start getting our stuff.
Chris Brown, we've been looking for some interns for a couple years, so I'm negotiating that in the first deal. Once you hear this, I'm negotiating. I need 3 interns.
3 interns off the top.
Put it on the Off the Ball Network, buddy.
You talking about? But now back to basketball though. We were having a debate on the spaces. We were having a debate on our spaces the other night. What we're gonna do those? That's the first announcement as head of basketball content. We're gonna be doing spaces 2 Fridays a month, and we're gonna try to throw a random one in there, in between those, just to check the basketball temperature of everybody and how y'all feeling. All discussions, no debate, because we ain't gotta scream at it. We ain't gotta talk at each other. We can talk to each other. Right. But we're having a discussion on our spaces.
But 2 a month, 6 o'clock Fridays.
6 o'clock Eastern time.
We'll be put out there beforehand, but 6 o'clock Fridays, twice a month. More details on the date coming soon, but these are gonna start really soon.
Sure. But we having some interesting discussions. I messed my train of thought up. Yeah. But we were having some interesting discussions, and one of them was on Jokic. Since, like I say, we're also finna get into the point of the season where people finna get their seasonal narratives together for their voting. And we were talking about Jokic, how there's a chance he could possibly be put into the rarest category. To the rarest categories of rare, because this has only ever happened one time to everybody's knowledge, and that's, of course, he has a chance to win his third MVP, third straight MVP, along with Larry Bird, who the only person to do that, right?
Yeah, Larry Bird. I'm about to look it up as we talk about this right now, but I'm really confident because it's one of the few stats I know.
On top of your head.
Off the top of my head, few like what the hell type of stats that I know. The Larry Bird is the only person that won 3 straight MVPs. For sure, the last person that won 3 straight MVPs.
And when you hear that, and it's like Jokic, like you don't. The first thing you're like, yeah, Jokic is a great player, but that's not. You don't automatically go there first. Well, not most people. Because we already know where this conversation is going to go if Jokic wins his 3rd MVP. Shout out to Mo, Up in Flames, and Phil Stormers for Walker Bailey. And if Jokic wins his 3rd MVP and he gets into this rarest of rare categories that only one other person has achieved in the NBA.
Nope, 2 people.
2? Who's the other? Wilt Chamberlain?
There you go.
Okay.
Larry Bird, Wilt Chamberlain.
It's a stat. If there's a stat in the NBA that has been achieved, Wilt Chamberlain has that stat.
Yep. Larry Bird and Wilt Chamberlain are the only people to win 3 straight MVPs.
So Larry Bird would have been the last. So that's 2 people.
They're like, when Wilt did it, he did it from the 65, 66 season through the 67, 68. Larry did it 20 years later, basically, 83, 84 through 85, 86. And here comes Jokic. This is almost 40 years
Almost 40
later.
years, almost right. And when you hear that, the automatic conversation starter for most people is gotta be
Those 2 top 10 players all time?
where does Giannis rank in between there? Not Giannis, excuse me,
Jokic.
but Jokic. Where does Jokic rank in between there? Because it's like he hasn't won a championship. He's been to a conference finals. He hasn't even been to a championship. He's been all NBA first team, but he doesn't have a scoring title. He doesn't have a rebounding title. He has 2 regular season MVPs though, and this could be a 3rd one. Of course, I'm not asking you where you put him or where you think this would put him, but when you just even imagine that and think about the area that will put him in just from a narrative question, do you think that's even fair to Jokic and where his career has been or where it can go?
Right. Shout out to Mo because he brought it up because I feel like the history at times can weigh on people winning these awards. It was like the last big time I think it was such a big question like this was like Steph when he became the first unanimous MVP. And history was like, oh, so many people haven't been unanimous. Where did this happen with Steph? And his book wasn't done yet. And I think if you look at it now, Steph is deserving. He's, to most people, a top 10 player ever. He solidified why, that happened.
Right.
But when he did it, he was in the midst of winning championships. So it's just so weird to see this individual success and it's not attached to the championship, which Denver's in first place right now. They should be thinking championship, right? But I very well wouldn't be surprised to see Denver lose in the 2nd round. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them go to the finals either. But to be in the position, I do think it is going to crank up the conversations of where do you rank Jokic at all time. And it's going to be unfair to him, honestly, because people are going to already start saying, is he top 5? And whether you have him top 5 or not, he's, at least in the media, the standard that he's going to be held to, I think can really be, it could be unfair going forward. Or even just as far as like people that, what if he deserves the MVP or he's earned it? Because a lot of people deserve it, so I can't really say deserve it. But what if he's earned his MVP, he's doing it right, but he doesn't get votes because people don't want to vote him as a 3rd time MVP 3 straight? Not because of voters fatigue, because I don't believe in that, but I do believe in because of people that done did this is Wilt and Larry Bird. He not Wilt Chamberlain or Larry Bird, so he kind of loses in that, in that sense. So it's a good question to have. He's putting himself in position to be in that conversation again. But I think if he earns it at the end of the day, it is a regular season award, and even I admitted the other day. Biasly, I admit it is a regular season award. The playoffs do not matter when it comes to this award. It is hard to think like, dang, he may get this award and they lose again. And now you got it 3 straight years without not even having a championship, but not even going to the finals. So I even found myself admitting, like, dang, that would be kind of crazy. But if he earned it, and I say give it to him. But I would openly admit that would be a little crazy.
And I guess to me, the next part of this is if he does win it, if he is earning, if he is the one that earns this, if he is the one that I guess is the most deserving, I guess in a sense, do we stop judging these players in the middle of their careers, or this is just no, like it's gonna be the same on with how we, not when I say we, I don't mean everybody, but just the general and how the media covers. But does this change the way we talk about players and where they're at in their career and their career trajectories? Because it's not, I don't think even with 3 MVPs, it would be fair to put Jokic in a top 10 conversation realistically all time.
Right.
Like, I don't think that's fair on him.
And people aren't going to go away from the comparisons, but that is why it's always said you got to let these players, especially like everybody starts, I'm not going to say nobody, but typically people don't take off at the end of their career. It's usually at the beginning towards the middle. So I think that's why the rush to put people in positions should stop, though. I don't think it will, but it should. Because even like just to another thing that we said earlier, like you said, it is what it is. But what if, playing a what if game, because it hasn't happened yet, but what if the Bucks don't go back to the finals? I've real life seen people have already put Giannis above someone like Tim Duncan, whose career is finished. We've seen him win 3 MVPs, which is more than Giannis have. We've seen him go to 6 championships, win 5 or 6 or 7. Go to 6 championships, win 5 championships, win 3 finals MVPs, and you're already putting players above some of these players because they start winning around the same age as some of these players that won it, maybe even slightly younger, but because they come in younger, but around particular ages, but their careers aren't done yet, and it fizzle out after a couple of years. But just a few years ago, you already put them ahead of players because of projections. It's good to project because you want to know. I mean, not good to project, but I understand why people project because we want to predict the future. Like, hey, we seen him do this now. How far can he turn it up? How much can he run it up? But it's always just still good to have perspective about that. And why people say, man, his book not done, let him finish writing it, because some of these players, I mean, Jokic got another 10. He got another. How old is Jokic? He got another 10 years potentially in the league. He's 27. So I won't put playing a 38 on him, but I very well see him playing a 34, 35. I mean, especially you stay healthy, you wish good health on him.
Right. Because what if he wins a championship later in his career, not as a main player, right? Not even as the star on the team,
So
but just as a good piece, right?
So then it's like, how did that conversation go? You're not the best player when you win the championship. You don't even have to be a worse player, but you're the second or third best player.
You're just a good player on this team that helps contribute.
So, like Jason Kidd's championship, respectfully, he was the starter on that team, but he wasn't Jason Kidd at the end of the day. Anybody that watched Jason Kidd, he wasn't Jason.
That championship didn't necessarily.
People always say Dirk won that championship without another star, and he got Jason Kidd on his team. And Jason Kidd was an all-star, if not that year, just the year before. But I believe he was all-star that year. Yeah, that year. But they always say he won without another star on his team. And he won with Jason Kidd on his team.
Right, I was going to say that championship even changed Jason Kidd narratively to how you look at point guards now, all the time. Like, not necessarily.
Exactly,
right? Like, that championship means something for his resume, but it doesn't mean anything for him as far as his legacy goes.
Yeah,
I've always been with you. Like, let these players be able to write their complete books, even as far as season goes. Like, let the narrative of the whole season play out, so you can look and you can dissect it and you can reread the chapters. Like,
exactly.
Even it's
still a long way to go. Look at how dramatic the season went from January to the end of the year last year. Brooklyn fell out of the playoff race, out of being top 3. Boston went from trade Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown to everybody's finals.
They wouldn't go to the finals with that. Even I was watching TNT, Charles Barkley and those guys, and I know they were saying that it was the Dallas Boston game, and they were saying how they don't. I think it was Charles Barkley was saying how he doesn't look at game to game as MVP type games, but I kind of do, because I think that goes into the narrative of the season, especially when you have Luka versus Jason Tatum, or Luka going off for that crazy run. I know they say it was against inferior competition, but that's what I want to see my MVP do. Like, I'm not playing players of my caliber. Like, I'm finna go 60, 20, and 10 on y'all.
And I definitely think the whole season matters. Like, I don't mind you dropping 60 on a random Tuesday, and that be a part of your narrative. But I definitely like there's even every player admits this because it's a long season. So you gotta stay locked in. You gotta not overlook games and stuff like that. But you also have to have markers throughout the year. Like, all right, this is a marker. This is a team where we think we can see them down the road. Not only do I want us to win, I want to know, because to beat them in a series, I have to play my best. I want to know, can I get in my spots this year? How they gonna defend me? Can I have a big night doing this? So having a big night matters. And so I do think that plays a part into the MVP conversation as far as the narrative too, because there are different narratives. That's why we give out these awards. All right, it's not just, or it will just strictly be about the stats, and whoever had the best stats win. But it's like, all right, you have great stats. Like, I remember you played the Lakers on this night, and it was you versus LeBron, and LeBron goes off, but you went right back at him and you had a big game also. Those things have always kind of mattered. The regular season don't matter narrative is one that kind of drives me nuts. I don't understand it really. But I think it all plays a part to the narrative of the season, and it is something that does need to be played out for sure.
Nah,
but yeah, so like the whole season matters, but there definitely you're going to look back and like, man, you remember that game where, I mean, Luka's 60-20 game, like not only were the numbers big, they needed them buckets. Donovan Mitchell's 71-point game. He scored 13 points in overtime. Like that, it's just like, oh yeah, he had 70. He just was hot. They didn't take the lead into overtime. They needed that 70. That's a signature game.
No, for sure. And that's just how it is, because you need those moments. Because if you don't have those moments, how are you determining who's your MVP?
Just who got the best numbers, who got the best record. It's just a numbers game once it comes to that. And anybody that just playing the numbers game don't deserve a vote. Even Charles Barkley doesn't have a vote.
Right.
Great. Thankfully, he don't have a vote. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see how Charles Barkley votes.
Yeah.
But this has been an interesting year. Like you say, we've had a lot of high scoring games recently. Of course, Donovan Mitchell being the highest at 71, Luka with 60, Clay with 54 in a game winner. I don't want to get into it because I feel like this is one of those things that's finna start happening a lot, especially when you get into that sweet spot of the season where players, especially all those offensively top tier players or with top tier skills, get into a groove, and you're going to have a night where you drop 40. Lauri Markkanen basically, been going crazy over his last couple games, had a 49-point game in there as well, dunked on Vooch last night, something crazy on Saturday. But when you look at the scoring, and you look at, how players, not just that they're scoring, but how differently every player is doing it. Some doing it getting to the free throw line, some doing it straight buckets, some doing it behind the 3-point line. You have Embiid, who might go crazy in the post one night. Jokic go crazy in the high post and the low post. Of course, I know you're gonna say you don't prefer any of them, over the other. But which one do you kind of like more when it comes to those big scoring nights? Like you might have like KD, he had 40 on like 5 missed shots with 5 free throws. Like how do you which one of those nights be kind of the most impressive to you, in your opinion?
I think the more impressive, it's gonna just sound like a biased answer, honestly, because KD is my favorite player currently that's playing. He's the player I like to watch the most. My favorite player ever is Allen Iverson. But I genuinely like the games. Like, I like the big scoring games because it's like, wow, this man really just scored 70. I'm not as impressed by the 60-point, 50-point triple-doubles as everybody else. I know this probably sounds crazy, but I just like when you got the ball the whole game. I just think it comes.
Okay, that's what. Okay, I got one more question for you because, of course, I know Donovan Mitchell had the 71 and 2 assists, like how Carmelo had the 62 and 0 assists.
Well, no, he had 11 assists. 11 assists? He had 11 assists.
It was 11 assists.
Yeah. Because he almost had a triple-double.
Yeah, I thought it was 11 assists, 8 rebounds. You're right. But when even like that, when it's like high scoring numbers but no assists, because it's like I'm all buckets tonight, right?
Like I'm good with that. I don't mind. But I genuinely like the games when players, because it's the NBA. Even on the worst team, these are professional players like that will destroy anybody else. Like I saw somebody else on Twitter say I think it was Houston University could beat the Rockets, and they just don't know Jalen Green would score 90 points in that game. Like, these are the best of the best players. To see a player step on the court and miss 5 shots or less is just insane to me. I'm like, to be locked in like that, it's crazy because that just means everything is working, everything feels good, whatever shots you take is going in. So I really like the KD to 20. I think he took 22 shots, and he had 44 points. That's just, I always like those games better because it's just like pure basketball to me. And those games usually come within a player that's in a rhythm opposed to them just having the ball the whole game, I guess. I like you're playing within the offense and not just kind of dominating the ball and you score these big points because every shot you're taking is going in opposed to you taking every shot, I guess. But to be able to score 30 on 70 shots is crazy. 70 on 30 shots is crazy, but he really took 50 shots because he took 20 free throws also. So that's still a lot of shots. I mean, it adds up at the end of the day. So I just always personally like the ultra efficient game. Like somebody shoots 70% and have 40 plus points. Not 70%, you get 20 or even 30, but to shoot 60, 70% and have 40 points, and you know this person is shooting jump shots, mid-ranges, threes, that means you just really wasn't missing nothing.
So straight, but I definitely agree with that because like it's almost like a master class you can watch.
Straight buckets, man.
Like you can go back for young scorers, like here, study this game, like this, see how he got in the spot, see how he prepares for a shot before he gets the ball, and see how he gets positioned, dribbling moves. Like those are the games you want to show players who consider themselves as scorers, especially young players.
Those are literally the games I go back and watch. Like I'll go back just to see how somebody initially. To see how, I would go back and watch Luka's 60-point game, Donovan's 70-point game to see, dang, when did he get on? How is he really making these shots? But in those games, I really just be looking for the streaks of when they catch fire. The games that I'm going to be watching, or that I will watch a year from now or 2 years from now, is a game like where KD had 44 points and he missed 4 shots. He only took 20 shots for the points. Them the games I'm going back to watch because that's what I'm really studying the moves that they're doing, just really watching what's going on throughout the game, honestly.
Definitely.
That's definitely the game that I show my son to be like, this is what you need to watch. Not because of the points he scored, but look at the efficiency and the technique of getting to the spot, completing the move, even when it's contested. You flicked your wrist the right way every time. You got your feet lined up the right way every time, and the shot went in. That's perfect basketball.
For sure. Speaking of kids, LeBron James Sr. had a one-on-one interview on ESPN the other night. I still don't know what he talked about.
Right.
But I know one of the things they asked him about was passing Kareem, and another was about his son LeBron James Jr. He was saying, how he definitely wants to play at least 1 year with Bron, with Bron Jr. on some Ken Griffey Jr., Ken Griffey Sr. type beat. That's really a thing, a focus for him. That's something he really wants to do.
Right.
And when you hear that, and because it's clear, it's imaginable whether it's with the Lakers or whoever, but when you hear that, not even just as a basketball thing, but just a bond of a father and son, because I know you can relate to that because I ain't got no kids, but you got a son. But even just the bond of how that is, can you even can you imagine how special that is how special that'll be for LeBron? Because you say, you didn't get to play in the NBA,
exactly, right.
But he's gonna get to play in the NBA for at least a year with his son.
Right, and I can say for sure, I know just playing basketball, I feel like that's. When we started, I think we was privileged that our dad was actually a pretty good player, so. When we were of age to be able to play with him,
right? I
always felt like it definitely was special. It was different, or whatever. So to be able to do that at the highest level, I definitely think it's something that everyone would want to achieve for real. And I can understand why he would want it. I mean, part of the reason why I continue to play now, outside of just loving basketball, because I know that my son loves basketball, and when he's of age to be able to play with older players, I want to be able to play with them also, and that's not in the NBA.
Yeah, right.
So I do think it just showed the bond and just showed that he knows the work that his son has put in, and that is actually a goal that can be accomplished. And I think it's gonna happen. And I honestly, LeBron has,
It's all these different jokes about LeBron, about him as the capper and
Cap of the year.
you know, some people have called him passive aggressive and stuff like that. And whether it ends up on some tampering stuff or not, which I don't think it is, I don't want to put that on him. I 100% like the fact that he being open about, like, well, I want to play with my son. And if he makes it to the NBA, he hasn't outright said that yet, but he's pretty much saying whatever team he plays for, that's who I'm playing for. Because before I thought, because I read something when I saw it, he's made a note that he said that they don't gotta be on the same team, and I don't think LeBron going for that. Honestly, I think whatever
You know, that's why a lot of people think the Lakers holding on to the. That was what you said.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's what you said. My bad.
Yeah, I definitely said that.
That's why Lakers holding on to the pick.
I genuinely think whatever team Bronny goes to, LeBron gonna sign with him. It could be Portland, it could be Sacramento, it could be Cleveland, it could be Miami, it could be Atlanta.
Right.
I really feel like whoever picks him, he's gonna go to.
And just to take it back to, you know, NBA competitive basketball playing, as far as, you know, playoffs, championships, as a team, would you take that? I mean, of course, yes, but would you take that chance to maybe have 1 year at a shot of a championship, even with the older LeBron? Because at the end of the day, that's 2 years from now. LeBron will be 40. If you're a team that's already in position, you're gonna do stuff the right way to put good caliber players around him at that age, if possible. But do you take that chance of signing LeBron for one, even if it's just for fans and getting fans in your arena?
Right.
Do you do that for 1 year at least?
And I look at that as a few different ways. The answer is yes. The NBA is definitely an entertainment business, so definitely about entertainment. It's definitely about treating your fans, and to have LeBron at age, I don't care if he was 50, to have
He
LeBron
like with Jordan. Like, I don't think the Wizards cared he was that old.
Exactly.
He
At
Jordan.
age 40, LeBron will still average 25. He's not gonna be no bum out there. He ain't gonna be. Jordan was no bum. I don't care what you hear about the Wizards. They didn't make the playoffs. Cool. Before Jordan got hurt, he was averaging 25. But if LeBron is healthy at 40 and low manage him, cool. He's gonna average 25. Nobody's stopping LeBron at 40. Are you gonna be a championship contender? Probably not, unless he goes to a team with a superstar player, and now you could, like, if you went to the Warriors or whatever. So that was LeBron, Steph, whatever. There's some superstar players that go to the Bucks or something like that. That's the only way it's a championship situation. But I think they will be competitive. Like, they're going to compete for the playoffs no matter what team. And that doesn't mean making it, especially with the play-in. They're going to compete for the playoffs. And it's worth it for the money you're going to generate for your franchise, the money you're going to generate for the city, the fanfare you're going to generate. The only thing that as being a pure basketball player and a player that wants to play professional basketball, play semi-professionally, I want Bronny to actually deserve the spot. And that's where it could get tricky. Whereas, like, is he actually an NBA
you don't
player?
want, right, because you don't want him to, because who knows what his projection is going to be once he gets to college and play, but you don't want him to go from a top 20 pick to a team and draft him in the top 10 because, we can get LeBron as well.
Exactly.
Because that is the danger that nobody's talking about. That is,
like, if he's a second round pick and now he's somehow a top 10 pick because you know you're going to get LeBron, that's where it gets dangerous.
And this is not to say that he's going to be a top. This is not to say what pick he's going to be.
Who knows where he's going? Because I 100% honestly believe that Bronny's a pro. Bronny's a pro. He's grown up in the life. He's going to handle himself like a pro. He take care of his body like a pro. He's going to have pro training. He's a good shooter. He's a good decision maker. He's going to be a good defender. The question is, what type of pro is he going to be? Is he going to be a rotational player? Is he going to be a consistent starter? Does he break out and become an all-star? But Bronny is a professional basketball
He's probably going to get drafted in a spot where he probably shouldn't get drafted.
I would say just based off him already being a pro and how he's going to come in ready to be a pro, that alone, with the fact that he is a talented player, that alone makes him a first-round pick. Because even if he was a late first-round pick, without the stamp, he would be going to a team that wants. Because
people going to love his, because like I said, he's going to be professional coming in, so teams aren't going to mind taking a chance.
He's going to already understand playing a role. I don't think he. Like, if the star potential is there, I want to eat. But if I got a slot to be a role player, he will already understand being a role player. Pro athletes' sons are already prepared to be pros. That's why teams don't mind taking them. Right. So, but to end it, I'm taking LeBron. I'll draft him #1 to get LeBron. Now you just throwing your franchise away, right?
But no,
seriously though. I would seriously, especially if Bronny plays really well
at whatever college he decides to go to. He has a solid season. He shows some potential of being a good player.
Right.
I would draft him in the first round easily.
And like I said,
LeBron.
even back to the entertainment part, like what team wouldn't want LeBron James for his farewell tour?
Yeah, it's like
Come on,
farewell
man.
to LeBron. I did, and he like LeBron has had no major injuries in his career. Shout out to him for that. That's a blessing. He's not going out on his last leg.
Nah, he gonna get a great farewell tour.
Not even just that.
I mean, as far as how he gonna play as well.
Exactly. I'm saying he might have the best farewell tour because he's gonna be hooping. He's gonna be averaging. Unless LeBron gets, I don't want to put no injury out there, but unless he gets an injury that takes out his leg in the next year, LeBron's going out averaging 26, 25 points per game easily.
Nah, facts.
So I definitely would take the chance. It's definitely worth it. And within Bronny, you would get a good player. I just only think it gets slippery if he goes in the top 10 because I don't think Bronny is a top 10 draft pick. And
as of today.
And I want to respect the players that are earning those spots. Yeah, as of today, because who knows what happens? Because you go to college and you kill it, you get way better. Maybe he hits another growth spurt. Things change. Some things happen. So I just want Bronny to earn his spot, which I do believe he will do. And then it's definitely worth taking the chance for sure. And if I'm him, I would definitely want to play with my son in the NBA too. It haven't been done. So it would be worth it for sure.
Nah, yeah, definitely. But other than that, you got anything else?
Other than that, just as always, I'm trying to think. I thought I was gonna say something else, but other than that, just as always, appreciate the supporters. Shout out to everyone that listens to the podcast, people that's gonna tune into the spaces, people that have tuned into past spaces. Shout out to the Off the Ball Network once again, nameless the head of basketball content at Off the Ball Network. A lot of good things to come. You can find us anywhere podcasts are available. Search the Hoopers Pod. You got Google, Spotify, Apple, the thing on Audible. Shout out to Audible. And a bunch of other cool places. Go to YouTube, search the Hoopers Pod, like, subscribe, comment. Go to Twitter at Hoopers Pod, Instagram at _Hoopers IG. Shout out to Off the Ball Network again. We just got some merch, so go ahead to offtheballnetwork.com and get you a hoodie or something. Hoodies real fly. Everything on there. That's all I got.
All right, yeah, with that being said, I'm John W.
Fresh X.
And this was another episode of the Hoopers Pod.